Well, here we are. We've finally arrived at the moment that the entire season has been building towards, the NBA Finals. This postseason has been a long, wild ride with so many crazy events going down along the way, but now there are just two teams standing ready to battle it out for the title, being the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. I don't think anything this year went according to plan, as demonstrated by an 8 seed being in the finals right now, but that's what makes the journey so fun, and both the Nuggets and Heat deserve every bit of credit for making it this far. In this video, we'll be discussing everything you need to know about the NBA Finals this series, previewing how each team matches up with each other, what the strengths and weaknesses of each side are, and then at the end I'll be making my prediction for who I think will win and in how many games. Before we start though, it turns out a good amount of you watching right now aren't even subscribed to the channel, so if you enjoy the content, consider hitting the subscribe button, as not only does it help out a ton, but it also very much appreciated. Now with that being said, let's begin. We'll start things off with the team that has been waiting a very long time for this moment in several different senses, being the Denver Nuggets. This is a franchise that has been in the NBA since 1976, and yet they have just now made their first ever NBA Finals appearance this year. It's been a long road to get to this point, but the patience of Denver fans has finally paid off, and now their team enters this series as the favorites to take home the title. They're led by two-time MVP winner Nikola Jokic, who has proven to be one of the greatest offensive forces the league has ever seen, and now after all of the doubt and the question marks surrounding his resume, he has managed to shut everyone up with this run making his first appearance in the finals. His Nuggets got swept in the second round 2 seasons ago against the Phoenix Suns, and last year they lost in 5 games in the first round of the playoffs to the Golden State Warriors, which isn't exactly great, but the context behind those two results were that Jamal Murray was out injured both years, and now this year the team came back at full strength with a retooled roster ready to go. This offseason, the Nuggets knew that they were getting both Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. back healthy, which meant that they had different priorities for the rest of their roster. Some guys like Monte Morris and Will Barton from last year became expendable because of this, and they were both used to go out and acquire Kentavious Caldwell-Pope in a trade, who fit a bigger need as a 3-and-D wing, who doesn't need the ball in his hands as much to be effective while capably defending the opposing team's best perimeter players. Another key addition from the offseason that didn't get much attention at the time was them signing Bruce Brown in free agency, because Brown is another outstanding perimeter defender who competes so hard, finds ways to impact the game off the bench on both ends of the floor, and even provided a nice scoring boost this playoff run as well. One of the biggest concerns about the Nuggets previously was the fact that their defense was relatively porous, but with this reshaped roster, they've actually been closer to the above average range compared to the rest of the league in both the regular season and the playoffs, which allows their absolutely dominant offense to make it even harder on their opposition to overcome. In the postseason this year, the Nuggets rank 8th defensively out of the 16 teams that made it, and then offensively, they have easily been the best offense of the bunch. Aaron Gordon, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Bruce Brown, and even Michael Porter Jr. have been outstanding defensively, which is huge because on offense, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have shown that they can go off at any given night, forming one of the toughest two-man games to stop. Jokic has 8 triple-doubles this postseason already, which is a ridiculous number. His court vision stays top-notch, he's averaging 30 points per game in the playoffs, fully locked into doing whatever is needed out of him on the floor, and he's doing it efficiently as well, making 54% of his shots. Jamal Murray has also had 7 games this postseason with 30 or more points, so game planning against the Nuggets is one of the hardest things a team can do because Murray is one of the best shot creators off the dribble in postseason play, and the rest of the Nuggets offense is filled with motion and cutting and screen setting, creating easy layups through Jokic's passing ability and pick and roll play. If you try to double team Jokic, then he'll easily just find the open man, and the Nuggets are built to capitalize on that with shooters like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Murray, and Porter Jr. ready to shoot at all times. If you try to double team Murray with the ball, then it will inevitably find its way to Jokic inside, and at that point, good luck trying to stop Jokic one-on-one. There aren't many answers to the defensive questions that they force their opposition to answer, but this marks a good spot to switch over to the team that they will be facing, the Miami Heat. For the Heat, literally nobody expected them to be here in the first place. This is only the second time in NBA history that an 8 seed has ever made it to the NBA Finals, with the first time being the 1999 New York Knicks, but no 8 seed has ever won the NBA Finals, so their steep climb to making history still is not over. The Heat aren't a typical 8 seed, however, because they were actually the number 1 seed in the East just last season and were in the conference finals last year too, with almost the same core of players back this season, so while the story is incredibly improbable, it's not necessarily the biggest shock in the world either. One of the biggest issues with the Heat this year was that last season they were already incredibly thin in the front court as it is, and then in the offseason they lost PJ Tucker and the Heat didn't sign anybody to replace him, making their front court an even worse spot for most of this year. Jimmy Butler also isn't necessarily a player who goes all out in the regular season, as demonstrated by the drastic difference between his regular season production and his playoff production, so all of that led to a very up and down season for them. The Heat did do a solid job bolstering that front court at the trade deadline by signing both Kevin Love and Cody Zeller, but I don't think anyone would have expected those moves to be the difference between a failure of a season and an NBA Finals berth like it seemingly has been. In the regular season, the Heat were still one of the better defenses, ranking 9th in the regular season on that end, but their offense was a disaster, ranking in the bottom third of the league. Of all 16 teams that made the playoffs, they had the worst ranked overall offense and worst ranked half-court offense of the bunch. Additionally, the Heat were the 4th worst three-point shooting team in the league in the regular season, but are now the best three-point shooting team in the playoffs. I don't think I've ever seen such a huge turnaround for a team from regular season to playoffs like this before, and honestly, it was exactly what they needed to pull this off. Guys like Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, and Gabe Vincent have all caught fire at the right time after very up and down regular seasons, and if the shooters around Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are hitting, then their jobs become easier too. If the Heat want to win this series, not only do those guys need to continue spacing the floor, but their two best players, Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, need to have the series of their lives. Bam specifically needs to prove to the world why some believe that he's the best defender in the league, because he's going to be the one matched up with Nikola Jokic most frequently, and that matchup will determine the series. Double teaming Jokic is not a recipe for success due to his excellent court vision, so if Bam can manage to slow down Jokic one-on-one, then the Heat can stay in it. Offensively, Jimmy Butler needs to have some heroic performances, because otherwise I don't see how the Heat can go shot for shot with this red-hot Denver offense. What worries me is that Butler has been playing through an injured ankle since the second round, and his play has taken a small hit because of it. He was nothing short of heroic against the Milwaukee Bucks, and he's going to need to replicate the production he had against them, against Denver, to pull off the victory, but this ankle issue may hold him back from doing so. With all of that being said though, it's time to unveil my official prediction. I think seeing the Miami Heat pull this off would be one of the coolest things in sports history, and it's always fun to root for an underdog to do the unthinkable, but realistically, this is probably where the magic runs out. I fully realize that those words have been said countless times throughout their run, and every series they were picked against, but they haven't faced a team with a dominant offense like the Nuggets to this point, and the fact that Denver is at full strength and the Heat aren't also factors into this. Jimmy Butler is not 100% healthy. Gabe Vincent isn't 100% healthy. Tyler Hero and Victor Oladipo have been out pretty much this entire run, so I'm going to have to side with the Nuggets here. I think the Nuggets sweeping the Lakers showed that they're more legit than many thought they were, and this could be another quick series, so my official prediction is the Nuggets beating the Heat in 5 games. And with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below who you think will win the NBA Finals this year. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.